Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's Inside the Pigskin, and my name is Scott Morgan, wrote the Motor City Man Mouth. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. We appreciate your service. We really, really do, and are grateful for the freedom that you've all provided us. I'm wearing my USA shirt here, so for those of you that can see, and of course, the Motor City Man Mouth. Well, that goes without saying. And my Veterans Day crew today. I know Ben Troop's trying to find suitable internet connection someplace. He'll pop in when he gets a chance, but we have Tom Shanahan. Welcome back, Tommy.
Yeah, I got my West Point hat on today. Oops, my battery's running low here. I got to get plugged in. My high school classmate, teammate, he was our quarterback. He's a West Point grad, retired Colonel Rick Stanky.
And we have Candy Evelyn.
Thank you, Scott, for having me. Happy Veterans Day to all those out there, especially your dad and both my uncles. So thank you for your service.
I have an uncle that also was in Vietnam as well. Fortunately, he's a late uncle now. And we bring it up to Marvin Powell III.
Hey, fight on, everybody. Fight on. Happy Tuesday night. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the show.
And last but not least, Mel Farr Jr.
Hey, great to be here. Appreciate it. Look forward to a great show.
That's with that said, let's get this show going on. First of all, we're going to revisit a trade. Sean Payton is in his third season with the Denver Broncos. It's a trade that we're going to revisit. Denver received head coach Sean Payton and a 2024 third-round pick, and Ben Troop will get here, and we'll give him his proper intro as I get through it. Hey, Ben, I knew you'd get here sooner or later. So just in time for the first topic. Ben Troop will get here, and we'll give him his proper intro. Well, maybe I don't know. There goes my eyes. I guess something's wrong with him. He'll get here sooner or later and get through a sentence or so. Not worried about it. Lovely guy. But anyways, let's try it again. Denver received head coach Sean Payton, a 2024 third-round pick that was traded to draft cornerback Riley Moss. New Orleans received a 2023 first-round pick that got defensive lineman Brian Brees, the 2024 second-round pick that was traded to draft cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry. Tommy, what are your thoughts about that particular trade? Who won
it? Denver, because they're having a good season. New Orleans stinks. I don't know those players enough to comment on it.
All right, Candy.
Yeah, I would say that Denver has, let's face it, Denver's winning right now. They're doing what they need to. It might not always look pretty, but they're getting it done, and a W is a W, and that's what matters in this league. So right now, I'd say Denver's winning that.
And Ben, just in time, did you get that? Who won the trade there? Denver, when they got Sean Payton and those other draft choices. You want the return here before we hopefully don't lose you. I don't know what the over-under is, how many times you're going to go under. Just kidding with you, Ben. Love the hat, though. But anyways, Denver ended up receiving Sean Payton, and they traded to draft cornerback Riley Moss. New Orleans received a 2023 first-round pick that netted defensive lineman Brian Brees and a 2024 second-round pick traded to the draft for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Some thoughts, Ben?
You saying who won the trade? You say who won that trade?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's Denver. I mean, every time players don't mean as much as a coach does. Sean Payton, you see what he's doing right now with Denver. I mean, Bo Nix is not a guy that not everybody could be able to, coach a guy like that. But they 8-2 for a reason. 8-2. I think right now, Denver's looking like they won that trade. I mean, it goes back to 2002 when I think John Gruden got traded from the Raiders to Tampa. They ended up winning the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with Sean Payton for right now.
Marvin?
Yeah, it's all about leadership. And Denver was the first team in the NFL this year to have 8 wins. You look at what Sean Payton is being able to do at the quarterback position with Bo Nix. And, the biggest difference for that organization is the leadership. So without question, they won that trade. And not just because they have a great leader, but because they have a guy who can develop a quarterback, coach quarterbacks. Sean Payton is a Super Bowl winning champ. I mean, he's won the Super Bowl as a head coach. I believe he's won it as an assistant. I mean, he's been around tremendous leadership as a player and coach. And you take all that knowledge, all that experience, that winning pedigree, and that quarterback training, And Denver has a guy for the next, 10 years with Bo Nix there and Sean Payton. So they absolutely won the trade as they're one of the best teams in the NFL by record right now.
No.
Well, I think the last gentleman and Marvin summed it up pretty much. Yeah, it's obvious that Denver won that trade.
Yeah, it's unanimous. Yeah, there's no question. Got Sean Payton's done a whale of a job up there for sure. All right. Now we're going to talk about the story of Miami's Malachi Tony. Candy and I have watched a special young athlete who's a wide receiver for the Miami Hurricanes, as true freshman. As a 17-year-old, get this, caught a 28-yard touchdown pass from Carson Beck at 17 years of age. He's a very versatile, great special teams player. Candy, why don't you give everybody an overview of Malachi Tony, and then we'll whip it around.
Just to give you a quick early life, as a senior in high school, he had 58 receptions for 1,008 yards with 12 touchdowns, and he won Broward 4A Football Offensive Player of the Year. But as of right now, so his stats, he has 54 receptions for 644 yards, 3 touchdowns. He has 8 carries rushing for 40 yards and 1 touchdown. And yes, he has 1 passing play that he threw a touchdown to Carson Beck this last game against Syracuse. So he has a touchdown receiving, passing, and rushing so far this year.
Great kid, and I love the way he handles himself on special teams on punt, kickoff, return. We'll turn over to Tommy.
Well, last year Ohio State had a great freshman in Jeremiah Smith. Some kids are more ready for college than others. I'm not sure how he's fit in so well with them, but you see it every once in a while. It's rare. Most of the time you talk about how they got to get some experience to learn how to play against older players. And some guys, it just doesn't matter. This is one of those rare examples.
Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I think a guy like Malachi, the reason why he's really, really good at what he does is because they didn't make him change who he is. And sometimes when it comes to players, the hardest thing about football is adjusting to these new schemes. They said, Malachi, look, you build for speed. You really, really quick. I mean, you great with the football in your hand. So but he also has the talent. He also has the talent as well. So I just think with a guy like Malachi Tony, I mean, obviously, he plays for Miami, so I can root for the player. I don't have to necessarily root for the team, but I'm definitely a fan of the players first. And Malachi, I mean, he's special. And you looking to see can he threaten a guy like Strepo and those guys from last year. When you think about what he does right now, I think he's going to be really, really special moving forward. I hope that the injury bug does not hit him because he's not the biggest guy you ever seen. But in space, good luck because the young man got speed for days. But yeah. A true freshman that comes into college football, big-time college football, can make the impact he's made, that's rare because most guys, it take them a year or two to get, the game to slow down. But, yeah, he's really, really special, really, really early. I hope he can keep it up.
I'll say this much. When I haven't been to many of the Miami press conferences because I've migrated over to the visitor side and I'm doing well. But one of the first ones I went to was that first game, and Mario Cristobal didn't even know at the time he was only 17 years of age. Other than that, I've only been to 2 of them, and then I've gone to the visitors. I've done really well there. But they have a special player there. Marvin?
Yeah, I'll pick up where Ben left off. I mean, listen, you get these 5-star, 4-star recruits. You don't know if you're going to get an impact player immediately or a guy like myself who really had to, take 4 years to develop. And when you see a freshman, a 17-year-old out there, playing with, elite athletes and, he's playing with confidence and, that's rare. I mean, listen, a lot of these freshmen come in wide-eyed, you know what I mean? And just getting on the field is a blessing for a lot of these guys. This guy has impact, and he has impact in so many different areas. I mean, he's a threat out there. He's a dynamic athlete, freak. The truth is, if this kid were eligible, he'd get drafted. At this point, he'd get drafted just because of his athletic ability, his ability to compete at a high level against other top competition. So I mean, this kid is special. What you hope is, in this NIL era where, I don't know what kind of deal he has, but he's increasing his value. You better believe that. So it's realistic. He's going to see a lot of money come his way. You just hope that a kid that young, that mature, who's putting himself in a great situation, you hope that he can contain that consistency mentally, work ethic, talent, and just keep working hard, man, because he's off to, especially at UN where they have a history of great receivers. I mean, he's on a path to really put his name on a very special list if he hasn't already. So this kid is special. Watch out.
Yeah, Miami's not going to give outbid for anybody. They'll make sure they can for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Martin, but we're going to add something to it.
No, I was saying in Miami, they've had NIL since the 80s. So I mean, the money ain't never a problem.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this, and I agree. GMTA, great minds think alike. All right, now.
Well, I know Candy rattled off a lot of numbers, a lot of statistics, and Marvin and Ben spoke so eloquently of this young man. I don't want to sit here and blow any smoke up anybody's rear end. I haven't watched him play. I don't know enough. I haven't watched Miami play that much, to be honest with you. So when I saw that in the notes today, I didn't take the time to look it up and see exactly who it was, because I don't watch much Miami football, and I don't want to blow any smoke up anybody's backside. But, I take Ben's word for it and Marvin's word for it that the guy's a special player.
Don't worry, we'll lift you up. We've seen enough. We've seen a lot of them, and we're going to see a lot more of them as time goes on. Let's continue on.
Just one last comment. He is really great. I do want to say that anybody that wants to see him speak, he actually was at one of the press conferences after the game. So if you go on over to our video section of our YouTube's channel here, there is after the game, he was one of the guys that spoke, not after this game, but I believe it was like 2 games or 3 games ago. So you can go see him talk.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff with him on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channels. We do a lot of other stuff. All right, Alabama has canceled their series with West Virginia. The new SEC schedule model of 9 conference games, and they'll replace West Virginia University with East Carolina University. Tommy, you know about these schedules. They're going to change because of the 9 games. What are your thoughts about Alabama casting away West Virginia?
Yeah, it doesn't mean what it used to mean. It used to mean that teams are trying to get out of a difficult game that they weren't going to win or whatever.
Right.
But since conference realignment, everything's up for grabs. You never know what's going to happen.
Sure. Candy?
Yeah, you're going to see more and more of these games go by the wayside because they're playing more conference games, and that makes sense. But it's sad if this one doesn't seem like such a big rivalry, but some of the other big rivalries are going to be gone. And that's what's sad. Like this year, Miami played Florida, Florida State, USF, all of those, and you're not going to see some of those games again. And that's what's sad with the new realignment and the new playing as many conference games.
Ben, you're on mute.
Yeah.
There we go. I think these games are scheduled when Nick Saban was still there. Isn't he from West Virginia? Isn't Nick Saban from West Virginia? He was just doing this stuff. It's a chance for him to potentially, go back home. He was gonna beat the brakes off him now. Make no mistake about it. He was gonna beat the brakes off of West Virginia. But I agree with Candy and Tom. Here's the thing: 9 conference games in the SEC means that a lot of these games are gonna go away. Now, I don't want the USC, Notre Dames to go away, but you got to go a long ways back to see Alabama versus West Virginia. I mean, that's some old school rivalries back there. But yeah, these type of games are going to go away. And unfortunately, when it comes to non-conference games, it got to be games that the country wants to see, not just the conference. So the country doesn't want to see West Virginia and Alabama. I mean, they just don't. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but a lot of these teams that had a shot to be able to play some of these big-time programs going to have to deal with the fact that they're not going to be able to do it now. 9 conference games in the SEC means that you're not going to have any undefeated teams anymore. But sorry, West Virginia, what they got that Country Road, Take Me Home, West Virginia, isn't that the West Virginia song? So, yeah, other than that, man, there's going to be much to do about nothing. I agree with Candy. Some rivalries are worth continuing. I don't think this one makes the list.
That was good. I like that. Boy, you just slid that one in, Ben. Don't worry. Next week, though, when I bring on the topic about bowl games, I actually had an opportunity to interview the broadcaster. Oh, my gosh, whom Candy, I'm drawing a blank. Bob Wischusen. we'll talk about whether there are too many bowl games. I'm going to put him on this show next week, an excerpt of what we have, and I'll be surprised some of the ones they don't have there. So I'm sure you'll enjoy that sound clip. Didn't have time tonight because we had some other stuff. All right, Marvin, some thoughts about Alabama and West Virginia.
If anything, it hurts West Virginia in this 12-team playoff format. They obviously, are trying to play relevant teams, assuming that they're going to be good and win. They want to play big teams so they have a chance to impress the voters, the committee. For Alabama, Alabama fans, their community could care less. They're all about the SEC. They want to see those SEC matchups. So, you'll see more of this. USC is going through the same thing. And, again, if anything, it hurts West Virginia, which I will say, on the side note, beautiful state. Went to thunk that. I drove through it a couple years ago, and I was just overwhelmed with the beauty, the flower, the nature. It's really pretty out there.
Oh, I've been to West Virginia many times. I think it's the best kept secret in the country. I really do.
I wouldn't say that. Yeah.
Well, how many people go to West Virginia, bro?
There's a reason why. I'm just saying. I was caught off guard, but I'm saying I wouldn't put. There's a lot of secrets that people don't know about in regards to beauty in America. I wouldn't start there, but Scott, this is your show, man.
I didn't say I had to start there. I just said it's one of.
I hear you.
But okay, I'm with you, Marvin. I'll drink to that. I might drink a Fuji apple, probably. It doesn't matter. But it's a cool place. A lot of beautiful scenery out there, that's for sure. So hello to my friends in Beckley, West Virginia, or wherever. I don't know if I've been to Charleston, but I've been to Beckley. All right. Hey, Mel.
Yeah, I think TV plays a big role in all this. Nobody wants to see Alabama play West Virginia. The networks really control what the conferences are doing right now. They wanted to see 9 conference games, so that's what you have now. You have 9 conference games. They're going to be competitive games, especially when you're talking about the likes of Disney, and they have the rights to the SEC. They want to see 9 SEC games in primetime, and they want to see them play against one another because they know that those are big draws for them. So it doesn't surprise me that this is happening, and it's going to continue to happen, obviously, because they make these schedules years in advance, so it's going to continue to change as time goes on, and in particular as they start getting adjusted to this 9-game schedule.
The only time you're going to see Alabama and West Virginia is in a bowl game or maybe the college football playoff. I think Rich Rodriguez has a lot of work before you see this in the postseason. That's for sure. All right, well, here's an interesting story, and I'm glad I have an opportunity tonight to bring it up. The story of Cade McNamara. Once upon a time, he was a very big heralded quarterback with Michigan, but he lost out to J.J. McCarthy. And he ended up transferring to Iowa. Didn't work out there. And now he's transferred to East Tennessee State University Buccaneers and is now splitting reps, competing for the quarterback job. So, Tommy, what are your thoughts about Cade McNamara? This guy has bounced around a little bit.
He's in his 6th year.
Right.
When I heard this, it makes me think about when I was a Little League kid. And there was a guy that was really 13 years old, and he was playing with us younger kids, and he finally got busted. Or the guy who was born early, like a Malachi Tony, he was his class was a lot older than his birthday, and he was in there dominating Little League kids, even though he was really 3-4 years older than some of the kids. I don't get this guy. It's time to move on to life. You had 5 years of college already. You don't need a 6th year. He's taking away playing time from some guy who went to East Tennessee State who didn't know he was going to have to compete with a guy who's been at Michigan and Iowa. The guy, it's time for him to move on.
Candy?
He's playing under this is the 6th year because of the COVID years. And I think Carson Beck is the same way. I think he's had how many years too. So it's unfortunate that, he's kind of slipped this far. I mean, if you think about it, because if you started at Michigan and you started at Michigan and then you went, what did you say, Scott? You went to Iowa. So he was at Iowa he was at Michigan for 3 years, Iowa for 2, and now he actually was going to go to Western Kentucky, but then flipped and transferred to East Tennessee State University. where he's played 8 games so far. He's 3-5. He's got 1,283 yards, so thrown 7 touchdowns, but 6 interceptions. So he's thrown, so not that's not good on the touchdown to interception ratio. But
Well,
at least
if he makes it to the pros, at least he go to the United Football League. Who knows? Or Canada might take him, but that's okay. All right, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for him, when you a quarterback, they're gonna let you play as long as you want to play. I mean, being a former 5-star and getting the offers from Alabama, Georgia. What's the tight end from Miami? What, like Cam McCormick or something? He was there for like 8-9 years. Like certain people, they just slipped through the cracks, and a lot of these guys came out around the COVID year, 2020. Anytime players are in that realm, because you got 2020 as that extra year, you got medical red shirts, but he wants to be a professional student athlete. He want to milk this thing for as long as he can milk it, and obviously somebody gonna let him do it. I ain't mad at him. I mean, some people love college. He like a professional student. So hey, enjoy your time, young man. And but I don't think nobody gonna have more than Cam McCormick, the tight end out of Miami. You just can't play. People don't coach that long, let alone play that long in college. So hey, all the best to you, young man. Who am I to tell you what to do and what not to do with your future? You trying to milk it for as much as you possibly can. He's at East Tennessee right now. Who knows? I mean, with all these coaching hires, you might see him on a coaching search. Somebody might pick him up as a head coach. He got plenty of experience, but I ain't mad at the young man. I mean, enjoy yourself, youngin. Enjoy yourself.
Cam McCormick, Candy, I think we saw him play last year, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
He stayed around. We were able to see him last year. He played 8 years. We're bound to catch up with you sooner or later. Okay, Marvin.
In regards to the NFL, I mean, listen, Anthony Richardson got drafted in the first round off of 13 games. A lot of these guys, are 3-year starters, or there for 3 years and they're out. This guy couldn't win the job at Michigan. He couldn't win the job at Iowa. And you're telling me he's battling at whatever school you just said, East Tennessee Tech, whatever. I wish him nothing but the best. I'm not going to tell him that he ain't going to the NFL, but typically that kind of talent wins out in college. You're not bouncing around like that. I'm hoping, like Ben was alluding to, that for him it's strictly a business decision. There are opportunities for him to make some money, and I'm with that, because these guys can come out, making a few million, and you set that up, man, and you're starting off life pretty nice. So I don't think you can run from competition. You can't. You went to Michigan because it's an elite school, and you want to play with elite players, and you want to play with real dogs. Well, there are ups and downs to that. You know what I'm saying? So in regards to competition and just what kind of fight he has in him, I don't know, but I'm assuming this is strictly business.
No question about it. All right, Mel.
This is actually his 7th year. So he played 4 years at Michigan, 2 years at Iowa, and now he's at East Tennessee State. Okay. I remember he went to college in 2019. Now he was a highly regarded prospect coming out of Nevada. I think he was Gatorade Player of the Year in Nevada for 2 years straight, threw for like 12,000 yards. He had a problem staying healthy. I remember him. He had a difficult time staying healthy. He had a difficult time staying healthy in Michigan. Yeah, I think he ended up losing his job to JJ McCarthy, and came in some spot duty, got hurt, went to Iowa, left Iowa because he knew he was not going to get that job. That was JJ McCarthy's job, and got hurt. And then, I didn't even know he was still around. But it's not about money. He just obviously wants to continue to play football. Obviously, he loves college, I guess. Maybe he just wants to see how many different states he can go to and how long they're going to let him play, how long they're going to let him stay in college. He's 25 years old. He's 25 years old. At 25, my career was done. I was all done. I had a wife and 2 kids at that time. I can't see somebody liking to play college football that much. I don't believe the NIL money is that big at East Tennessee State. So I can guarantee you it's not about the money. He's just playing purely because he loves the game and hoping that he can get an opportunity maybe to get on a roster in the NFL. Maybe he can catch on the practice squad and get himself another 3 or 4 years there and then call it a career. Because he's long in the tooth right now for a football player, and particularly a quarterback. And when I say long in the tooth, meaning that he's
right.
he's old. He's already old. I mean, hell, he's almost as old as Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold's been in the league for a long time.
Well, here's the thing. You nailed it. Okay, number one, he's trying to hold on to that opportunity, whether it's practice scout or maybe another pro league. But this guy could be coaching material as well. You never know. With as long as he's been in the game, anything's possible when you stayed around that long. So let's go back to college stadiums. I found another nugget that I thought that's worth bringing up. The top 5 largest college football stadiums. And actually, I like to have a little competition with this. That the Big Ten actually leads the SEC in something, and this is it. Okay, Michigan is over at Michigan Stadium 107,601, Penn State 106,572, Ohio State 102,780. And then you have the 2 SEC schools, Texas A&M 102,733, then LSU 102,321. All right, Tommy, what are your thoughts about these 5 stadiums that the Big Ten is a little better in the SEC, at least in this department?
Well, I'll say the same thing I said last time. The only 2 stadiums that count are Michigan and the Coliseum in Los Angeles because they were built that big to begin with. The others were all expanded, and they're not natural stadiums. And so I'll stop there. How and the Coliseum.
Okay. Candy?
So the question isn't how many seats or how big is the stadium. It's how many people are sitting in those seats on a regular basis. Because let's face it, we've talked about this a little bit before, that there are some, and not necessarily as much in college, but there were some pro teams that have big stadiums that put tarps over part of their stadium seats because they didn't want it to look bad. I'm not saying that the college guys are doing that, but I'm just saying in markets where you can draw those that big to make it seem like it's full, then hey, good for them. Not all colleges can draw that much, but if you can draw that much to fill the stadium, then by all means, you should have a big stadium like that.
And hey, Featherbird, we appreciate you. Feather Free Bird, thanks for being in the chat room.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan is huge. I mean, you talk about Penn State, you talk about Ohio State, and you mentioned like LSU and Tennessee. I mean, it's just something else for these conferences to talk trash to each other about. I mean, college fan bases, it's crazy. I mean, and the fact that they're that big. I mean, I played against guys that went to Michigan. You would think Michigan win national championships every year the way they talk about it, and obviously they're gonna brag on Tom Brady as they should. But yeah, I did not know that Penn State was that big. Now I knew that Ohio State and Michigan was. I did not know Beaver Stadium was that big. And obviously I played at LSU, played at Tyson Neyland, up there with Tennessee. But I do agree with Tom. I mean, the Coliseum, and like I said, man, as a person that never got to play there, I heard about it a lot. The SC guys, they go talk trash to you, man, about the Coliseum. But yeah, it's something else for Penn State to talk trash. Penn State better talk trash about how big their stadium is. They're gonna talk trash about much else. What they're gonna say? What they're gonna talk about? LeVar Arrington, Courtney Brown, Michael Robinson. The same person that designed the Indianapolis Colts jerseys is the same person that designed the Penn State jerseys. That is not a real jersey scheme. All white jerseys with blue numbers and an all white helmet. That's about as bland as it get. But shout out to him, man. 100 and some thousand people. If you've never seen it, it is crazy. But I do agree with Candy. I would want to get the wide zoom camera angle. Don't give me up close and personal. You ain't getting 100,000 people in Pennsylvania every week. I'm just telling you. Maybe in Ohio State and Michigan, I don't know about Beaver, but I could be wrong.
Let me tell you something. Coliseum is on my bucket list. I'm going to get there before the show's over with. All right, Marvin.
Listen, sports, particularly football, are really at the same level as religion for a lot of people. They don't want to say that, but they love their team and their God at about the same level. Kid you not. Look at where some of these stadiums are at, middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? It's a lot of these small towns, Happy Valley. It's in the middle of the state. What's out there? You know what I mean? So what are they going to do other than go to football games? So it's great for those schools that they're in regions where it's all about the school, and that community every week during football season is completely dedicated to those teams. And you see it on Saturday. You see them show up in ways that they don't show up to church. I'm just saying, it's up there, and it matters to a lot of these teams, a lot of these communities, and you can see that on Saturdays when them stadiums are full.
Mel.
I'm gonna say two things off topic, and I'll get back on that. We played Tennessee. UCLA played Tennessee up there in Neyland Stadium a few years ago, and the police officer who was out there on the field, he said, "Man, I'm glad you won." I said, "Huh? Man, I'm so glad you won. I can't stand these fans." He's like, "This is their God." That's what he said. He talked about football. He said, "This is their God." It's exactly what he said. He was happy that UCLA came out there and spanked them. And last week we talked about stadiums that we played in, and the stadium that we like playing in the most. I forgot that one of the biggest thrills that I had was playing out in Germany, playing in Berlin, and playing in the Olympic Stadium, and being able to sit there on the field and look up there to where Hitler was and watching the Olympics and stuff like that. I won't get into a whole lot of that, but that was a neat feeling for me to be on the same ground that Jesse Owens, hallowed grounds that Jesse Owens was on. Right. But anyway, these stadiums, they used to one up each other all the time. Ohio State would all of a sudden be the biggest, or the Penn State would have the biggest stadium, and then Michigan would add on. They always would add on to their stadiums to make it the biggest. I don't know who has the biggest stadium right now. Is it Michigan or is it Penn State? It's Michigan, yeah. So they added on to make sure that their stadium stays the biggest in the country. So I mean, and they do get 100,000 folks up in there, and they don't have a problem. And they're not in the middle of nowhere. They're in Ann Arbor, and they get 100,000 folks up in there religiously week in and week out. Happy Valley, they do the same. But again, what else is there to do in some of those cities? When you're talking about, these big stadiums, there's really nothing else to do. That, and then particularly down here in the South, I mean, that is, like everybody said, that is a religion for them.
Okay. Go ahead, Candy.
I just want to quick point out, because I went and we were talking about attendance at these historic vendors. And these rankings are based on recent data from the 2024 season. So the average attendance at Michigan is 110,548. Second, Penn State at 108,083. Third is Ohio State, 104,061. The fourth ranked for average attendance is Texas A&M at 102,733. And number 5, Nebraska Cornhuskers at 91,585. That's based on sellout streak of 404 games there.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska's been absorbed in mediocrity or below lately. They still draw a lot of people out there.
It gives people in those small towns, those small states, a chance to get out and meet people and diversify the bloodline a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're right. They really do. All right, so let's go to our.
One thing about Michigan, they were only getting like 50,000 fans a game in the mid '60s. It wasn't until Bo Schembechler came there and they started winning. They started putting a lot of money into the program that they got back to selling out a 100,000 seat stadium. So like Candy was saying, there was a time when they were only filling up half that stadium. Another thing about Nebraska worth mentioning is they had a volleyball match. I think it was last year. Outdoor women's volleyball. They had 80,000 fans for that.
Yeah, they got some pretty good fans in Nebraska, that's for sure. All right, let's go to our featured topic of the night. And what we're going to be doing is evaluating the new NFL head coaches this season. I'm going to go ahead and list every coach and their record, and everybody can just get grades from A all the way to F if you want to. We're going to start off with Mike Vrabel. I'll do them one at a time in that order. He's 8-2 with the New England Patriots. I give him an A. What about you, Tommy?
A.
Candy? Ben?
Of course he got an A. I mean, he's already got his he's already got like his mentality and the way he goes about his business on that team. And Drake May, I mean, you talk about MVP candidate right now, the way they playing. Yeah, A+.
Marvin?
You're muted.
You're muted.
He's an A.
Okay. What about you, Mel?
A.
Okay, let's go to Ben Johnson. 6-3 with the Bears. I'm giving him an A also. What about you, Tommy?
Especially the way they started out, they got beat by the Lions badly, and I think they were 0-2, weren't they? And so it looked like he might have a tough time at taking over that team. and they've bounced back. Yeah, I'd give them an A too, at least a B plus.
Okay. All right. Candy.
A minus.
Yeah, Caleb Williams. He's got him turned around. And he's done a really good job. Ben.
Yeah, I give him an A. Him and Caleb Williams on the same page. They finding a way to keep pace in that division right now. I give him an A.
I'll tell you one. If Caleb Williams gets to 4,000 yards, they're going to give him the key to the city of Chicago. Marvin.
Listen, when you consider what Caleb means to that organization, being the #1 overall pick, and just where they were as an organization when he was drafted, and you look at his first season and everything that happened, the fact that he's able to get this kid playing at a level where he's starting to meet expectations, and his play is better, his numbers are there. You have to give this guy an A because he's working on the biggest project that organization has had in Caleb Williams, and it's looking good right now.
Mel.
Yeah, I would definitely give him an A.
Okay. Aaron Glenn, 2-7 with the Jets. I'm going to give him a D. I know he's had a tough time over there, but I still have to give him. If it wasn't the fact that he won a couple of games, he'd get an F. But I'll give him a D. Tommy.
Hey, he's won a couple games, and look what he's dealing with. Look at the franchise he's dealing with.
Yeah.
You got to give him a little bit of a sliding scale. I'll give him a C.
Okay. Candy.
I'm going to give him a D.
Okay. Ben. You're muted. Ben, you're muted.
Ben's up.
Okay.
I'm tripping. Who do we have here? I'm over here tripping.
Aaron Glenn, the Jets.
Oh my God. I give Aaron Glenn a solid. I give him a solid B for this reason. He has a lot to deal with. The culture in New York is really, really bad. He's won his last 2 games. It's not going. He traded away his best cornerback for 2 first-round picks. I think Wilson is out for the foreseeable future. I give him a solid B for just keeping that thing together. It's gonna take him a little while, but I give him a solid B for just keeping it together. When you can win a game and your quarterback don't pass for 54 yards and you won. Yeah, it was special teams, punt return, kick return. I give him a B for just keeping it together.
Now you're referring to South Gardner and Justin Fields. All right, go ahead, Marlon.
He signed off on Aaron Rodgers leaving. Aaron didn't play great the other night, but he has 5 wins, and he'll be okay. He signed off on giving Justin Fields $40 million, adding him to a team that people thought was a playoff potential team. They started out 0-7. That's an F. This guy, I mean, I don't blame him by himself. I do not. But he's made, listen, I watched some of these games, not all of them, and there's been some decision making I didn't agree with, and just some of the moves that he signed off on. This is a horrible season compared to what Jet fans were expecting, what Jet fans were thinking. This is a total disaster right now. You're talking about 2 wins. They beat the Browns and the Bengals. I mean, right. What are we talking about here? So I think if they get the quarterback right, I can't even say that because they gave up the best player in the middle of the defense. They gave up, what's considered to be a good cover corner. And this was, these were picks that we had that were given up that he had to sign off on as well. So no, this is what failure looks like, y'all.
Let me tell you something. The way he handled that Aaron Rodgers situation was disgusting. Come on, you could have told him over the phone he didn't have a job to make the guy fly with his gun.
So let me say this.
I don't like that.
I do believe that he thought he was being respectful and doing it face to face. I think that was his attitude. You know what I'm saying? Let me sit down with this guy face to face, man to man, and do it like that. I think that was his perspective. But, I also understand Aaron's perspective. Dude, listen, this is business. We ain't friends. We just here, trying to make some dollars. I can make dollars elsewhere. You can hit me on a text. You know what I mean? That's what Aaron was saying, and I get that portion of it too.
All right, well, then if you're going to do it with a drive down I-95, not across the country. That's all I'm saying. I can handle a drive. I don't have a job if I'm driving up I-95, but I got to go from east to west to listen to that? Really? Seriously? Really? Not against you. I'm talking about Aaron Glenn. Okay. No.
I'm going to give him an incomplete.
Incomplete. Okay. Fair enough. That's okay. All right, let's go to Liam Cohen of the Jaguars. Liam Cohen 5-4 with the Jaguars, and you know what? He inherited a tough situation. I'm going to give him actually a B. Tommy?
Anybody that can win at Jacksonville, 5-4, I'll give him an A.
Okay. Candy?
B minus. I mean, he has a kicker that kicked the NFL record 70-yard field goal. But yeah, I'm gonna say B minus.
Okay. What about you, Ben?
I mean, I give him a C for right now. I mean, I think Liam Cohen gonna have to finish. 5-4 is impressive, but when they lose, I mean, he lashed his wagon up to Trevor Lawrence, and everybody wants to talk about these quarterbacks that haven't lived up to the billing. Trevor Lawrence is about as consistent as being inconsistent as you're gonna see as a quarterback. But they are 5-4 right now. They still got postseason aspirations, but I give him a C right now. I just heard that Travis Hunter, I think, had a season-ending surgery, so you're not gonna get him for the rest of the year. That's gonna hurt them, but right now I give them a C for just trying to keep that thing together in Jacksonville. But if it falls off the rails, which it easily could, we're gonna have to revisit these grades.
Well, don't worry, we will. I just had to start someplace, and this is a perfect
Yes, sir.
opportunity to start. That's all. I mean, listen, what are we just about halfway through the year, or somewhere close to that? Now, remember, we're talking 17-game schedule, so we're not that far off. But yeah, I understand Travis Hunter obviously went down. But remember one thing, he took that job when Shad Khan had to get rid of Trent Baalke to do it. Otherwise, he was staying in Tampa. Otherwise, he wasn't taking it. Okay, Marvin.
So obviously, we're in midseason right now, and you see everybody's record. Listen, we got a lot of football left. You still have a lot of things that are going to happen in these divisions with these teams. Some teams are going. You see KC catching on. Listen, the Jets catching on right on a 2-game winning streak. You don't know what's going to happen down the stretch. But right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are in the mix. So you got to give this guy at least a B for that, because nobody thought them having 5 wins at this point in the season. Jacksonville's been horrific for the most part, I think. And I think he's looking to change that around. But again, it's a lot of football left. But right now, I have to say he's doing okay. B.
Yeah, I'm with you, Marvin. B is where I got it. What do you got, Mel?
I give him a C plus.
Okay. All right, let's go to Las Vegas and talk about the Raiders. We're going to start off with you, Mel. And, well, actually, I'll start off. Got Pete Carroll with the Raiders. I'm giving him an F. And Geno Smith isn't helping it cause any. But to take Geno and think you can do anything with the Raiders, I'm giving Pete an F. As much as I hate to do it, I think it's time for Pete to move on. And to compound him problem, he hired Chip Kelly. So I'll give him an F. There you go. All right, Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have to give him probably a D. Things aren't working out well there. Bringing Geno over there has not worked out well, and like you said, the addition of Chip Kelly isn't really helping. I don't know if his offense is really suited for the NFL game. When you're in Philly, it never really clicked. San Francisco, right. It didn't click. He only lasted a year in Frisco. So I never understood that in the first place. Him hiring Kelly, Chip Kelly. I didn't realize that there was some sort of relationship there, because usually these hires have something to do with a previous relationship. But yeah, I'd have to give him a D.
Okay, and I gave him an F. All right, Marvin.
Listen, Bowers is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Gentry, I mean, he's young, he's a rookie. I think he's playing okay, not great, to be honest with you. But the failure for Pete was signing off on Geno and bringing Geno down there. I don't know if they have a ton of talent at receiver. I don't know if they have a ton of talent, elsewhere. I know they have a pass rusher in Crosby, but he signed off on Geno. Geno's playing horrible this year. And at the end of the day, a lot of it starts with the quarterback, and that's the guy that Pete wanted to ride with. That of all the free agents and potential trades and drafting a guy, moving up, they went with Geno Smith, and it's been a disaster. Pete is absolutely one of the greatest coaches in college football, and it's had a historic run in Seattle, but this Vegas thing has been a failure at this point.
Yeah, it really has. So what's your grade again, Marvin?
Failure.
Yeah, F. So we both got F's on this guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, I give him an F. I give them an F for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's the Raiders. I don't know what make people think you're going to be able to go in there and do something with the Raiders. The Raiders have been bad for an extremely long time. People act like the Raiders are better than the Browns. They're not. The Raiders have been in the dump for a long time. It starts, and the thing about Pete Carroll is something that Marvin just says. People start thinking that you're gonna have success everywhere. What he did in Seattle is crazy. You look at the culture that's still going on. Where's the last coach that was good for the Raiders? When's the last time a coach was good for the Max Crosby? He got a bunch of money to go out there and ride. You mentioned Brock Bowers being one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football. Chip Kelly still got a job because guys like Pete Carroll keep hiring him. What Chip Kelly did at UCLA, he should not be allowed to coach nobody. They should let him nowhere near football players. They shouldn't. So I don't, and to me, people always talk about this, nepotism when it comes to these coaches, right? They keep on getting recycled. Chip Kelly is still getting NFL checks to do what? To tell Ashton Jeanty it's something wrong with your stance. The guy that just won the Doak Walker, who just was the number one, the high drafted running back in the 2025 draft or something. No, I'm better at my job than you are, Chip. This is the same Chip Kelly that couldn't win enough games over there in Philadelphia. Now he ended up at UCLA. Now he's back in the NFL. I think Pete Carroll is going to have to get with the times. It's 2025, man. You can't be out there trying to get that old thing back with a guy like Chip Kelly and Geno Smith. I mean, Geno was able to have a good, try to resurrect his career in Seattle, but this is the Raiders need a lot. They need a lot. And even if they get the quarterback, you still got that culture in Las Vegas is awful. And this coming from a person that was with the Raiders in 2008 when they had Jamarcus Russell and Darren McFadden and Nnamdi Asomugha and they had D'Angelo Hall. And with all those players, they lost because the head coach was Lane Kiffin. So I'm just saying it's gonna take it ain't Pete Carroll's fault, but you are what your record says you are, and they are awful. They are competing right now for the number one overall pick. And the only reason why they won't get it is because the Tennessee Titans are still a football team. So that's the only reason why they won't get the number one overall pick.
So what was your grade again? I
give them an E. I don't even give them an F. I give them an E. It is awful. It is awful out there.
Well, I thought an E was a failure too before I realized there was an F. But okay, I don't know. Maybe back in Michigan it was an E until I heard F. But either way, we're on the same page there, Ben. Without a doubt. All right, Candy.
D-. The oldest coach can't do CPR for this team. I'm sorry, it just won't happen. It's not working. He did win in week 1 against the Patriots. Now I know that was week 1, but. So that's why he's getting a D-. But yeah, he's not the right coach to rejuvenate, not even like bring life support, bring in somebody to redo that whole culture. Not the oldest guy in the league, I think, is going to get it done. It's got to be some young, fresh blood coach, I think. But so my grade's D-.
Okay, what about you, Tommy?
He gets an F for hiring Chip Kelly in the first place. Chip Kelly is the reason Ohio State lost to Michigan last year because he was trying to pound the ball down the field when they had all those great wide receivers. And if it wasn't for the NCAA or the college football playoff expanding to 12 teams, Ryan Day very well might have got fired last year because of Chip Kelly. So he gets an F for hiring Kelly in the first place. And then he gets an F for taking a job under Mark Davis, who did nothing but win the sperm lottery. That franchise is a joke, and he gets an F. He's a cautionary tale for the New York Giants with these rumors if they're going to bring back Bill Belichick. Pete Carroll, he's got a coach so bad at age 73, he's going to take a lousy job like the Raiders. Move on with your life. Do something else. Do something important. Contribute. Pete Carroll, I got no respect for him. You talk about Miami having the NIL money in the 80s. How about Pete Carroll and his USC teams? He had to get out of Los Angeles before the NCAA posse caught up to him.
It was a witch hunt led by Paul D. of UM against USC, Tom. Those are allegations And I hate that Reggie gave his Heisman back, and I hate what Paul D did to our school when he was part of the NC2A.
Reggie Bush was taking money. His parents were taking money, and he denied all of it. He said, "You'll see, they're just making stuff up about me."
Didn't they give him his Heisman back?
Yeah, only because the times have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do nothing Johnny Manziel didn't do.
Johnny Manziel's a dog too. He didn't deserve the Heisman.
Come on,
Yeah.
Tom.
Well, I can tell Tommy doesn't like Reggie Bush or Johnny Manziel. I don't like Johnny Manziel anyways. And one of these days we'll have a topic centered around him. But I'm glad you brought him up, that's for sure. All right. And let's see, who do we have left? We've got Brian Schottenheimer, 3-5-1 with Dallas. I'm going to give him a C. Tommy?
I'll give him a C for having to deal with Jerry Jones.
Okay. Fair enough. Candy?
Yeah, he has to deal with Jerry Jones. At C-.
Ben?
Yeah, I agree with Tom. I give him a B because the kind of stuff he probably have to endure with Jerry Jones. I mean, the fact that Jerry Jones Jerry Jones probably make him listen to him say crazy stuff. He had to go to breakfast with Jerry Jones eating sausage biscuits with a whole bunch of salt on it. Just Brian Schottenheimer had to deal with a lot. And I think that the thing about him is, I mean, he's kind of Dallas is so big that you don't even really talk about him that much. Because of Dak and Jerry and CD and George Pickens, you don't even really talk about him that much. So I give him a B, like I said, not for what he's doing, but what he has to deal with. I mean, Jerry Jones, he's the only owner that does more interviews than players and coaches. He does interviews like he's a player. But yeah, because of what he had to deal with Jerry Jones, I give him a B just for having to deal with that.
Well, I had an opportunity to interview Jerry Jones, and I had a good time with him, especially when we were talking about the Thanksgiving game, and the Kansas City Chiefs wanted to see if the Lions could lose it because they weren't playing so well. And I talked to Jerry about, no way, Detroit's going to lose this. And what do you think happened? They found a third way. So I give Jerry Jones credit. He does his own PR work, but what I don't give him credit for how things came down with Jimmy Johnson. Okay, Tommy. Brian Schottenheimer's grade.
I already gave my grade on him. It's C for having to deal with Jerry Jones.
Oh, I thought it said Marvin. Okay.
Yeah, Dallas is irrelevant. They're irrelevant. They're having a mid-season. They'll finish with, I don't know, maybe 8 wins, maybe. I think that this guy, like everyone has said, has to deal with a lot. But I don't know that he's really done anything amazing with that team at this point. I would give him C-.
What?
C-.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So fair. Mel?
It depends on if he hired the defensive coordinator. His side of the ball is doing pretty well. I mean, they're putting up big time numbers on the offensive side of the ball. Now, if he hired the defensive coordinator, then I would give him a C- grade. If Jerry hired the defensive coordinator, then I'll give him a little grace and I'll give him a B-.
Okay.
For what he has to deal with being in Dallas, the biggest personality in the NFL, the owner and GM, to be able to try to keep, juggle all those plates and keep all those plates in the air is more than a notion.
All right, last coach, we're going to talk about Kellen Moore, 2-8 with the New Orleans Saints. And actually had won a couple recently. I'm going to give him a D. I'll tell you why I'm going to give him a D. I don't think he should have taken that job. I think he should have waited another year to get a better one. But he's got a D because, number one, he doesn't have a quarterback to work with. And a lot of the players he has are older and need to see retirement. But, Kellen, I love you. I think you're a good guy. You could have waited one more cycle, but I'm going to give him a D nonetheless. Tommy?
I'll give him an incomplete because he had to take such a bad job. But you can't really grade him on this.
Okay. Candy?
I'm gonna give him a D. Yeah, he's nothing to write home about so far. So give him a D.
I would have rather have seen Kellen Moore in Dallas than I would have New Orleans. Ben?
I give him an F. It's the Saints. I mean, no one cares. I mean, he has to deal with it. That's what he chose to do. He chose to go down there with the Aints, and he got to deal with what comes with the Aints. I do not have any sympathy for the Saints. None. And I had to deal with Drew Brees for about 40 years. I don't care. I hope they never win another game. Do I like their all-white uniforms with the gold numbers? Yes. Do I like Alvin Kamara? Yes. And that's it. I hope they lose by 50. So, nope, you get an F. Kellen Moore, you shouldn't have took it. I know guys want to be head coaches, but yeah, I'm not going to just take anything. And he took anything, and there is nothing like, comforting in sight coming, because these quarterbacks in this upcoming draft, I don't see nobody coming to save them anytime soon. So I give you an F, Kellen Moore. I think you're a good guy and everything, but you coach for the Aints. So F.
Marvin?
Yeah, he chose this team. They offered him a job, and he said, "Yeah, I want to go there, and here's my vision." And he drafted that quarterback, Tyler Shaw. He could have got Shazor Sanders, all right, who I still believe has upside, and there's a big question mark there. But what made you not take this kid? So no, he chose that quarterback. He chose that team, and they are terrible. That is an F right now.
No.
Yeah, I would give him an incomplete too. I mean, yeah, he could have waited for a better job. How'd that work out for Byron Leftwich? Sometimes you got to take the jobs. You got to hit the iron when the iron's hot sometimes. And right at that particular time, they just won a Super Bowl. His stock wasn't any higher than high. It was higher than it's ever been before. So, he had to take an opportunity, and all of them think that they can turn things around, and he should have that type of confidence in himself. He does have to get a quarterback. I mean, when you look at that roster, I mean, the first thing he had to do is look at that roster and say, man, I mean, this is what I got to deal with. This, he had the kid from South Carolina there, and then you took the Shuck in the draft. Like Marvin said, they could have took Shador. Why they didn't take Shador? Maybe that didn't have anything to do with him or not. I don't know. But I'm going to give him incomplete. I'm going to give him a little grace this year, see if they can get somebody at a real quarterback and see what they're able to do next year.
Okay. Very good. Everybody handled this topic real well. I'm glad everybody, because this was a tough 7 to grade, and I give everybody credit here. All right, we're going to talk about Brett Favre. Here's a FYI that people wonder, where did you come up with this one? Where I come up with them all. Okay, but here's a little trivia. In 1987, Brett Favre got his only scholarship offer from Southern Mississippi to play defensive back. And see, defensive back, he asked for a shot at quarterback instead at Southern Miss, and they tabbed him as a 7th string on the depth chart. We all know how that turned out, Tommy. How about that? Brett Favre was once a 7th string quarterback at Southern Miss, let alone the fact that they brought him in to play defensive back. Is that far-fetched or what?
I didn't know that part of the story. I always knew he went to Southern Mississippi and was underrated. The Packers general manager saw him. He was in a backup role, I think, with the Falcons, right? And they made a trade for him, and everything developed for him. But I did not know that part of the story.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Brett Favre was an inspiring story. And then, of course, then we found out what kind of a person he really is, stealing welfare from the state of Mississippi. So don't really care about Brett Favre.
Tell me how you really feel. But he was a 7th stringer at Southern Mississippi. All right,
He'd
Andy.
be a perfect candidate for the Trump administration to run the SNAP program.
Oh, that was good. No comment, but that was good. All right. That was good, Tommy. All right. I know you've been – I like it. All right, Candy, go ahead. You obviously had a chance to root for Brett for a while.
So Brett started for the Hancock North Central baseball team as an 8th grader and earned 5 varsity letters. He played quarterback, lineman, strong safety, place kicker, and punter in a primarily option run-oriented offense coached by his father, Irvin Favre, who was the head coach of the Hawks football team. His father said he knew Brett had a great arm, but he knew that the school was a running-based, had really good running backs, and so his father ran the wishbone, a run-oriented offense. So that's why they put him in different positions. But yeah, Brett was the gunslinger that, all the teams hated to see. And if you had him on your fantasy team, you always were wondering, is he gonna gunsling that to the right guy, or was it gonna be intercepted? So
Hey, I love Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger, and he played a lot of consecutive games. I know Tommy certainly doesn't care for him, but give me the consecutive game streak and give me the gunslinger. I'm all right with the guy. But I understand where Tommy's coming from. He's nominating Brett Favre to be in the Trump administration. All right, I'll have a segue over to Ben and see if he can top that one. He had to put his head down for what I just said. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I didn't know that about Brett Favre. I mean, obviously, I'm always sad to the fact that Brett Favre got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons and they traded him away. I mean, he never really got to play in Atlanta. They traded him away to Green Bay, but the rest is history. But, hey, man, I will say this about Brett Favre. When it comes to what he did on the field, he is football royalty. But when it comes to what he did away from football, when that when that 30 for 30 or E60, when that come out, it is going to be something to watch, because at the end of the day, Mississippi is one of the poorest states economically in America. Mm-hmm. And you stole from Mississippi? God. And I ain't political at all. I don't really get into it, but if Trump make him over snap, them people ain't getting that snap. It's gonna be a snafu. That money gonna be gone. That money gonna be gone.
He's the perfect candidate.
They're gonna be like, Brett Favre is having another barbecue at his crib. I know, because he got all the money and he ain't giving it up. So we'll see. But hey, man, I did not know that about him. But when it comes to football and football royalty, Brett Favre is a part of that conversation any day of the week for how he played and the manner that he played. So the fact that he got drafted he got recruited as a DB, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay. Hey, let's not forget that when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, Favre said it wasn't his job to help a rookie come along. What kind of a teammate is that?
Okay, well, I'm glad this topic has everybody expressing themselves. That's for sure. I like this. I like when we have topics where everybody's all over the map. This is a great topic. I'm impressed to see what Marvin and Mel have to say, but everybody so far has done really good with it. Tommy's showing us an edge. And Ben is showing me what he always shows. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Nah, this is Tell the Truth Tuesday. That's what it sounds like.
That's what it is. Go ahead, Marvin.
Listen, I got traded to Green Bay in 2000. Brett was super cool. He was super cool, man. I really have a lot of respect for him, just based on how he dealt with me as a second-year player. And it does surprise me that a guy who was a 3-time league MVP only had minimal opportunities coming out of high school. Obviously, I mean, listen, he didn't get great when he was in the league. He must have been pretty good, a few years before that. So to think that enough schools didn't see the talent, didn't see him worthy to play the position, but also tells you these guys, these evaluation guys, these scouting services, they don't know what the heck they're doing. They had Ray Lewis as a 3-star in high school, and they say he was cold in high school. So, Brett was definitely a great athlete, and to hear Candy say that he had varsity letters in the 8th grade, that says something. You know what I mean? If a dog's gonna bite you, he'll do it when he's a puppy. You know what I mean? So obviously we knew back then that the boy had something.
Ever heard of the words hidden gems? There's a lot of them out there. A lot of people really don't realize,
especially in them rural southern towns. You know what I'm saying? I mean, his high school had 200 people. You don't know. You know what I mean? He may have been 200 miles from a stop sign. You don't know. So yeah,
Precisely my point. Thank you, Marvin. Great minds think alike again. All right, Mel.
Yeah, Brett. His dad ran a split veer, and he ran the ball quite a bit. They didn't throw the ball very much when he was in high school, so nobody saw him do that. Nobody knew he was able to do that. And then obviously, he became who he became. He became Brett Favre once he got to Southern Mississippi, and the Atlanta Falcons traded him to Green Bay. Green Bay obviously saw something in, but it's hard to scour the nation, man, to find all this talent. Man, there's a lot of square miles in this country. And to try to find all the talent out there, there's gold everywhere. So he took advantage of the opportunity that he had. He developed his skill, and and was able to master his craft and play the game at the highest level. So I mean, that's really a testament to Brett Favre that he just stuck with it, regardless. His dad was a coach. He wasn't trying to showcase him, obviously, or maybe he's trying to showcase his running ability. I don't know, but he definitely wasn't trying to showcase his passing ability. But once he got to Southern Miss, the legend of Brett Favre became. And, what can you say? I mean, it really just says a lot about him as a person, that he stuck to it and he put in the work and became the player that he became. And obviously, and he was tough. He comes from a tough part of the country. Mississippi is extremely tough. So
Right.
I'm sure his dad was tough on him. And so, because, he was an Iron Man in football. And that's one of the things that I think that a lot of people respected about him. John Madden loved him to death. I mean, and I don't think anybody loved him more than John Madden. I mean, John Madden kind of made him who he became. Not made him a household name, I shouldn't say. Brett Favre became who he became because of him and his work ethic. But John Madden really appreciated the type of player that he was, and the way that he approached the game and the way he played the game. And you could hear it over the airwaves, the way in which he talked about it.
All right. Well, great points all the way around. All right, Ben, I know you have about 10, 12 minutes. We'll try to get you in a couple topics real quick. So, yeah, I agree. Number one, in my opinion, Jerry Glanville kind of gave up on him, and Mike Holmgren took him in. And, yes, he definitely built his reputation off of John Ben. I'm going to get a couple things here that I want Ben to comment on real quick. Okay, we're going to go to the Florida topic. Okay, the candidates for the Florida job, Ben. We're going to go to that one next, and then we'll go up until Ben has to get going. But since we have a Florida Gator on here, there's no better time to do it. The candidates for the Florida job include Lane Kiffin, Brent Key, James Franklin, Eli Drakowitz. Marcus Freeman has already turned it down. And, of course, Ryan O'Hara is calling the plays for Billy Gonzalez, and offensive coordinator Russ Callaway retains the title in a limited role. So just give me your best guess, Ben, who you think would be the best candidates for this job, or the guy that ultimately get it.
I mean, I think Lane Kiffin is on the top of a lot of people's list for a lot of reasons. I think if Lane Kiffin really wants to build his legacy and he ain't afraid of smoke, and he's gonna come to Florida. But if he's blowing smoke, he's gonna stay at Ole Miss. To me, the two guys I would be looking into more is Brent Key at Georgia Tech and Eli Drinkwitz. A lot of people don't like Eli Drinkwitz because he also came from the Sun Belt just like Billy Napier did, but he's been winning games at Mizzou. No, they're not gonna go to the SEC championship game. I know they're not gonna be going to the college football playoff, but he's been very, very good. I would go Brent Key first, Eli Drinkwitz second, but I know everybody wants Lane Kiffin. Here's the thing about Lane Kiffin that scares me, right? Lane Kiffin has never played in the SEC championship. Lane Kiffin has never made it to the college football playoff. Lane Kiffin is a really, really good offensive mind. I don't know how good of a coach he is. I know he came out and said he want to be like Steve Spurrier. I know that Steve Spurrier still has a home and still resides in Gainesville. Lane Kiffin is a guy that this is the last time he's going to be the most highly sought after coach like this. I don't see it happening like this for him anymore. Lane Kiffin has made a lot of waves this year, saying a lot of stuff in these press conferences. I think Lane is the guy that Scott Strickland is going to go after because you don't have to introduce him to Gator Nation because he has the resume. Brent Key, you're going to have to kind of win him over a little bit with him and Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, he's a bit of a nerd, but he can coach. He can coach, and he's already coaching the SEC. Here's the thing about the SEC that's different than any other conference. You have to have some type of SEC ties, or you got to adopt the culture. That's why Coach DeBoer over there at Alabama is winning, because that culture is that strong. Hugh Freeze, gone. Right? You talk about Billy Napier, gone. I just think, Sam Pittman, gone at Arkansas because his big time expectations at a place like Florida and places like, and obviously Brian Kelly going to LSU. As long as Brian Kelly name don't come up, as long as Hugh Freeze name don't come up, I can live with Lane Kiffin. I can live with Brent Key. I can even live with an Eli Drinkwitz. I don't want to hear nothing about no John Gruden. I don't want to hear nothing about no Nick Saban. I don't even want to hear nothing about Urban Meyer. I don't want guys who have decided that their best days are behind them. $15 million is a lot of money. That's going to make anybody get off the couch, but I want you to win. So Lane Kiffin is going to be number one, going to be the guy they go after, but I'd rather have Brent Key and an Eli Drinkwitz because the last time I checked, Lane Kiffin has been in the SEC a long time. He's been a good coach, not a great coach, and he lost to Billy Napier head-to-head last year with DJ Lagway being the quarterback. And they still got to play him this year, which they're probably going to have their way with Florida this year. But if I had to do it, I would go Brent Key first, Eli Drinkwitz second. But Lane Kiffin is going to get the first call because I think they respect him that much.
Well, Ben, keep in mind one thing. Lane Kiffin won at Florida Atlantic, and he took it to an 11-3 mark, and ended up getting a better job. You can win at FAU, you can win anywhere. So,
I respect that. I respect that, Scott. But here's the thing: I look at football like I look at boxing. It's not how many fights you had; it's who you fought. FAU ain't fought nobody. You got to play somebody. And let me say this: I respect all of college football. FAU, FIU,
Right.
Florida, Florida State, FAMU, Bethune. I respect it all. But Marvin and Mel knows this. You got to win against teams that most teams cannot beat, not the team that anybody can beat. And I'm just saying, for a guy like Lane Kiffin, if he really wants legacy, he will come to Gainesville. Because right now where he's at, they got Eli Manning, they got Arch Manning, and they got 18 miles an hour, and they got hotty toddies. That is Ole Miss, and ain't nothing wrong with that. But that is the legacy of Ole Miss right there. They did in the last 30 years. How many Florida quarterbacks have been to an SEC championship game? You had Kyle Trask, you had Rex Grossman, you had Tim Tebow, you had Chris Leak. They did it for Ole Miss. They had none. So I mean, like I said, if he stays at Ole Miss, it's because he wants to be comfortable, and there is nothing wrong with that. But if he really wants smoke and he ain't ducking it, he coming to Gainesville. We will see.
You know what? We'll let you get out of here with a few minutes to spare on that note. I want to make sure that you had a chance to at least comment on that topic. Great stuff. And by the way, Sports Nut, Lane is going to Florida, expected to get $13.6 million. FAU is someone to write home to mom about. They're extremely small. Yeah, I know. Sports Nut, I covered that team for many, many years, but you make some excellent points. And you know what? Jane Franklin, I think, is going to go to Virginia Tech. Great points all the way around, Sports Nut. All right, you know what, Ben? You made it to the topic we needed you to get to. So with a couple of minutes to spare, you drive safe and be careful to get home. I look forward to having you back on next Tuesday night. Okay, Ben? God love you. And as always, man, you're outstanding, Ben. And we love you very much. And you're a big part of our family. Keep that hat and that candor going. Because as Jimmy Walker would say, you're dynamite. There you go. Right on top action. Okay. It's all right. So go ahead and be careful. We'll see you next Tuesday night. All right, Ben?
All right, Scott, Tom, Candy, the Rolls Royce, Mel,
later,
Marv,
Ben.
we'll see you tomorrow, man. I appreciate y'all.
All right, great job, Ben. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. All right, well, let's stay on this topic since we're here. Then we'll go to a station break, and that's this. Okay, Tommy, give me the best candidates for Florida. I went over them: Lane Kiffin, Brent Key, James Franklin, Eli Drakewitz. And I don't even bother with Marcus Freeman. We'll just go with those unless you have other ones of this group.
Well, this is for me. Yeah. Lane Kiffin's only 50 years old, and you only have about 10 years in a cycle nowadays in coaches. Even if you have success, you're going to wear out your welcome after about 10 years, or you start to lose your edge. So he's got a good 10 years left in him, if not more. And I wouldn't necessarily think it was a good place for him, except that he's so tied to that to Florida and his respect for Steve Spurrier. And he proved he was a head coach at Florida Atlantic. He didn't prove he was a head coach at Tennessee or at USC. Right. He proved it at Florida Atlantic. And he's lifted that Ole Miss program a lot farther than anyone might have expected. Certainly I didn't think he would. I don't think he can lose because he's established something at Ole Miss. He'll be respected there for a long time. And I got to think that if he went to Florida, he would probably win there too. The guy that would be a fool to take that job is Brent Key. That's Georgia Tech's alma mater.
Yeah.
They don't have to win 10, 11 games every year for the fans to be happy with him. Brent Key is in the perfect place for him.
Yeah,
and Eli Drakewitz, and let's give him credit too. I don't know if he would do well at Florida. Certainly, I wouldn't give him as good a chance as Lane Kiffin would, but he's done better at Missouri than a lot of recent Missouri coaches.
I'll say this much: I don't think Lane Kiffin's leaving Mississippi. I think he's staying there. Nick Saban's telling him to stay there as well. I think Drakewitz would be the most logical of this group. Great point, Tommy. We'll turn it over to Candy.
I think Lane Kiffin, and I think because he's going to wants to move back to the state of Florida, no state income tax. I think he knows how to recruit in Florida because he was here at Florida Atlantic, and I think that makes a difference. So I could see him at Florida.
Marvin?
Yeah, as a former player, I don't see Brett Key leaving his school to go anywhere else. That's just not realistic. I mean, Mel will tell you that. That's just not when you play for that school in the pre-NIL era before the transfer portal. That's your family. That's a family situation. You know what I mean? So that's not happening. Lane Kiffin to me is a home run hire. As Tom said, this guy's young. He's only 50 years old. He has tremendous experience. Everybody's not going to be Saban. Everybody's path to greatness is different. Lane did a great job at USC. We were under sanctions. Those Paul D sanctions I was telling you about, Tom, on the NC2A and that whole Reggie Bush thing, he did a decent job, navigating us through that. It could have been a lot worse for USC. He was the head coach for the Raiders in his 30s. He worked for Saban for, so many years. He worked under Pete Carroll for so many years. This guy is getting better. He's getting more mature. His personal life is kind of straightened out now. And either Ole Miss or some NFL team or Florida is going to benefit from a guy that has tremendous experience and a guy who's been forged in fire, literally. So if they can get him, and that's great for them. As Candy said, the guy's been at FAU. He understands how to recruit in Florida. There's an abundance of talent in Florida. If you're coaching in California, Texas, Georgia, Florida, you don't have to, Louisiana, you don't got to leave the state. You can stay in that state and get what you need for the most part. So that would be great for them. The other guy who I would love, because he's on fire to coach and he has a resume, Gruden.
Yeah.
Gruden would be great at Florida. I think he has the attitude. I think he understands that culture. Just based on some of the things he got in trouble for, I wonder what it's going to be like going to the homes of some of these young African-American kids and how their parents address some of the things that he did, at least their take on it. So that could be challenging and that could be holding him up for a college job. But I think he would be John Gruden would be a great hire for Florida.
You know what? For some reason, I agree with you on that. I don't know why. My instincts are with you on that. If John Gruden goes to Florida, if you can't get Kiffin, you go out there and get John Gruden. He's ready to go ahead and coach in that state. Of course, he's from the Tampa area. It's a quick drive down 75 to get there. So, Marvin, I'm with you all the way. If you can't get Kiffin, you go after Gruden. Great points. All right, Mel.
Yeah, let me interject here for a second, Mel.
Sure.
Mike Glennon knows John Gruden real well. We had Mike Glennon as our guest speaker at the Raleigh Sports Club last week.
Okay.
And Glennon said Gruden is chomping at the bit to get back into coaching. But, so I wouldn't be surprised. And there's going to be so many jobs open. I wouldn't be surprised to see him land somewhere. But like Marvin said, he's got some questions to answer.
Yeah,
that's stuff he said about DeMaurice Smith, I think.
Yeah, having big lips.
That was despicable. That's junior high stuff.
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah, and listen, I get it, man. I think if they monitored everybody's private phone calls, it'd be a little crazy what you hear. It's going to be for me. I think it's going to be tough for him to go in some homes. I do, and that I think that's going to be the issue. But I think he has great energy. And I think he has the energy to coach these kids. If you watch his show, his quarterback show, where he sits down with these young quarterback prospects, they love him. You know what I'm saying? They love this guy. So I think he'd be good.
Mel. Great points all the way around.
I think they had the contract already in the drawer for Lane Kiffin to go to Florida, to be honest with you. And if I were Lane, I wouldn't do it. I mean, because the expectations at Ole Miss are not the same expectations at Florida. And he can get a statue built outside the stadium at Ole Miss. And Florida, you're coming the Spurrier, the Urban Meyer. I mean, you're coming in with high expectations. Now, Lane, he's matured a lot and grown a lot as a coach, and he's been a head coach for a long time. He started out with the Raiders. I think they fired him on the tarmac. So he's had failures. He's succeeded. Things didn't go. Tennessee. He left out of Tennessee. They weren't very happy with him when he left Tennessee after 1 year, and went to USC, which was probably which was a great job. It may have been a dream job for him at that particular time, but I don't know if he was really ready for it at that particular time either. And then he spent a lot of time with Nick Saban. I think that time that he spent with Nick Saban was probably some of the best time that he could have spent. And he really learned how to be a leader of men, because Nick Saban is a leader of men. Yeah, the X's and O's, that's great. Being the whiz kid, that's all fine and good. But you got to be able to learn how to manage men, not only the players, but also your staff as well. And I think, when he went to FAU, I think he learned how to be a head coach, and I think he's matured a lot. And I think I think his ego is too big for him to say no to that job. I think they're going to throw a whole bunch of money at him, where it's going to be extremely difficult for him not to take that job. Ole Miss is not going to be able to match it, and then he's going to go out there and try to see if he can live up to those expectations.
The sports not mentioned the $13.6 million figure, so we'll see. I'm with you. I'd like to see him get a statue at Ole Miss, but we'll see. He obviously knows that I can see the case for both sides. Me personally, I'd like to see him stay at over where he's at, and that's Mississippi. All right, Katie, station break. We have a few more topics to get back and a couple of rest in pieces as well. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There is also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you have topic ideas or want to be a guest, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Monday nights we talk baseball, Tuesday nights we talk football, Wednesday nights on Sports Exchange. You never know what Scott's got up his bag of tricks, but we also on No Limits Wednesday nights, 3 weeks out of the month. We are talking with a former U.S. Olympic bobsledder about CTE and brain injuries. So definitely check that out. And then Thursday nights on Fire Up, Welcome to the Country Club. You never know what we're going to be talking about. But also on Sports Wrap, when Scott's got it going, we're talking hockey. And then he also does a Motor City Madmouth show where he does one-on-one interviews. So check them out. Also go check out the video section on our YouTube channel, because we've put up recently a bunch of different videos. So go check it out. If you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us with all your friends and family, and then turn the notifications on so you're notified when we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, thank you, Candy. Let's talk about SBC coaches. The buyouts this is unbelievable. The buyouts, 25% of the SEC buyouts are SEC coaches. Get this, Ryan Kelly, you're looking at about $54 million. Billy Napier, Florida, comes in at 21.2%. Hugh Freeze of Auburn, 15.4 million. So get this, 54 million, 21.2 million, 15.4 million just to go away. Sam Pittman's at 9.8 million and nearly 100 million combined. And when you think about the fact that Napier himself, his full buyout is 21 million, that's just unbelievable to pay coaches away in the SEC. We're just talking the SEC, Tommy. We're getting other ones in other weeks, but what are your thoughts about the fact that the SEC is eating all this money, or somebody is? And I'm not even going to get into the fact that LSU doesn't want to pay. We're going to all of theirs. We're going to talk about that at a later date, but we'll just talk about the SEC, Tommy, and the money being thrown out. To 25% of the coaches are getting paid to not work.
All excesses in college football begin in the SEC. Bear Bryant used to sign 140 guys just so they wouldn't play for Auburn or Mississippi. He was the first one, and they had to make an NCAA rule against that with scholarship limits. Bear Bryant was the first one to make an athletic dorm for his players as a recruiting edge. They had to make an NCAA rule against having athletic dorms. So all excesses begin in the SEC. And this college, it's not exclusive to the SEC anymore, but college football has lost its dignity with boosters running programs now, donor money running programs, and that began in the SEC too.
Candy?
Part of the problem with all of these big buyouts is the financial pressure that these athletic departments have on the school, like especially when they're considered alongside new revenue sharing models with athletes. So if some of you know that they're trying to pass some more legislation that wants to share some of the revenue. Once they do that, these buyouts are really going to put some of these athletic departments in a world of hurt, because they're talking about I've heard 22% starting at the revenue sharing. So you take that, plus then you take a buyout. Let's face it, Kirby Smart, his buyout right now is over $105 million. Like, that would be a hard pill for a college to swallow, even with these colleges making so much money. But the SEC leads the way. They demand, this day and age, they're demanding the win column and the wins. So if you're not winning, you're out.
Marvin?
And to get the talent that you want, they're paying them and doing these longer contracts to get the coaches that they want.
We'll spend more time on Brian Kelly another time. There's a lot of layers to that one. Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, Candy hit it on the head. This is really more of a testament to how much money these schools are making. Is this thing sustainable the way they're doing it? I don't know, but I know these schools, these conferences are making billions of these are $1 billion contracts that they're making. You know what I mean? So the other thing is this, it's normal. It is completely normal for a high-ranking executive at a corporation that's making hundreds of millions of dollars to get a golden parachute. Happens all the time in finance and in Wall Street, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we don't even think about that. That's been going on forever. You take sports, and these coaches, and because they're celebrities and people care because we know who they are, they advertise what they're getting. Guys, this is nothing compared to what's happening on Wall Street. This is the norm. It's the golden parachute for our industry. And again, it's a testament to how much money the schools are actually making, that they're signing these guys to these crazy contracts. Well, I say crazy, but it's consistent with fair market value.
Mel?
Yeah, I think it's a great analogy, Marvin. But this isn't Wall Street. This is college athletics, and this is supposed to be these guys amateur athletics. And they're supposed to be amateurs, right? It's supposed to be amateurism, correct? The contracts are getting crazy. At some point in time, cooler heads and smarter heads are going to have to prevail. They're spending all these teams. A lot of these schools are unrealistic in their expectations as far as their coach, especially when you're in this NIL era that we have going on right now. Every team is not going to be able to vie for a national championship. There are some good quality coaches out there. All coaches are not the same. Some of these, they're paying a lot of these guys. They're paying these guys a lot of money to leave a program. Like, you paid Brian Kelly a whole bunch of money to leave what most people would consider to be a dream job, a job that you would never leave. But to entice him, you had to pay him so much money. You had to give him such a long contract to entice him to leave. I mean, who would turn down that kind of money? So you're making it very difficult for coaches to turn down certain types of money, like Lane Kiffin. He's going to be offered a boatload of money because there's a lot of quality blue blood schools out there right now that are looking for coaches. I mean, it's never been like this. I can't remember a time where the types of jobs that are available right now are out there. When you're looking at the LSU and the Florida, they're going to be competing for his services. Florida State may have an opening here. I mean, just look what's going on in the SEC right now. So these universities are competing to try to get the best coaches, but they're not necessarily being realistic as far as what that school or what that program can do on the national level. And so at some point in time, because you just can't keep doing this. I mean, this is good money you're spending, and you just can't continue to pay people to sit at the house. This type of money. Right. At some point in time, they got to reel this thing in, because it's just getting ridiculous. Again, I've always said, because they're able to do the types of stuff that they do for these coaches, they can do a lot more for the players. I don't like the current NIL structure. I just think it's a free for all. They need to reel that in as well. But at some point in time, they got to do something with these contracts, because it's ridiculous. I mean, why would you want to go to the NFL? You can get yourself a golden parachute in the college game. I mean, these college coaches are making more money than the NFL coaches, and that's supposed to be this game at the highest level. So there's something wrong with the system, and they got to fix it. It's broken.
Yeah, it's flawed. All right, I've got a few more topics I want to get to. I'll do the best I can to get to them all. And that's that. Okay, going into last Saturday's game, Penn State was actually 25-2 all time versus Indiana. Obviously, Indiana's first ever win at Penn State obviously occurred over the weekend. They now improved to 10-0 for the first time that they've had 10-0 seasons in back-to-back years. That's unbelievable. Now the record is 25-3. So when we summarize this topic in general, we know that obviously Penn State's in a heap of trouble to begin with. So just Tommy, give me your brief synopsis about where Penn State is at and where Indiana's going, because this is just an unbelievable turn of events.
Yeah, I watched that game. What a tremendous game! What a tremendous game that was. That you got to give the Penn State interim coach, I can't think of his name at the moment, credit for getting as much energy, getting his team to play as hard as it did. Because now with the NIL age, we're at a time where guys are saving themselves to transfer to another school, and they're just sitting out games. I credit the Penn State interim coach, but considering the Penn State boosters, donors that got James Franklin fired, Penn State is the LSU of the Big Ten. I don't see that program continuing to grow. Indiana, on the other hand, man, Kurt Cignetti, what a job he's done there. You know, he's gotten credit for, bringing in a lot of the right NIL transfers. But that last drive, they went 80 yards with no timeouts, and first down was a sack. That was a tremendous job by his players following the coaching. And I want to say this also about Kirk Cignetti. You talk about how hard it is to find a guy who's a head coach. Mike Houston was the head coach of James Madison, and he won one of the football championship national titles, and then he was a runner-up another year. He gets the job at East Carolina based on that success. He ends up getting fired just last year. Kurt Cignetti was at James Madison. He got to an NCAA FCS championship game, didn't win it, but he didn't win a national title. Mike Houston did. This is the point I'm trying to make. Mike Houston won a national title. He ended up getting fired at his next job at East Carolina. Kirk Cignetti did not win a national title. He goes to Indiana and lifts Indiana to just heights no one in Indiana ever expected.
Candy?
Your job as an interim coach is to try and get the best you can out of the players you have in that field, because you want the job. You want the job next year. And so you have an in. Let's face it. You can be the first choice, but you got to get your players to play for you. You got to get them poised. I'm not going to say you're going to win every game, but if you come and get you're prepped and you're competing in all of those games, he has a shot to, be the next coach. So kudos to him. That he's got to keep doing more of the same.
And of course, Indiana, quite the story for sure. Marvin?
Kurt Cignetti is making every coach look bad. And he is. I mean, listen, you talk about the standard and what you should expect from a guy who goes to a program who I haven't heard of Indiana since Von Dunbar. A lot of people didn't even know they had a football team, and last year they're in the playoffs. That's coaching, man. Coaching matters, okay? In regards to Penn State is a blue blood. I'm not worried about them. They have to get the right guy in place. That's all. They get the right guy in place, their program will be fine. Because they have the support. I mean, we talked about their stadium. They have the money. They'll be fine. They got old school money out there, and that state is committed to that program.
Mel?
Yeah, like Tom said, I mean, I watched that game towards the end, and that was a great game. I mean, what Mendoza did on that last series was unbelievable. I really thought that Penn State was going to pull an upset due to Indiana, what UCLA did to them. But, those guys have a never quit attitude, and what Kurt Cignetti's done there is, it's unbelievable what he's done. I mean, just type of coach that he is. Yeah, it's coaching, and you have horses too. You got to have the horses out there as well. He brought a lot of those kids over there with him from James Madison, got in the transfer portal, got guys out of there, got guys in there, put his system in place. And Indiana has never been better. I mean, this is unbelievable what he's doing there in Indiana. I don't even know if he thought he could do what he's doing in Indiana, but he's making Indiana a relevant program, a program that's in the national conversation, is going to be in the national conversation for as long as he's going to be there, because that's the type of coach that he is. So it's good. It's good for the Big Ten. It's good for Indiana, and just tells you, that. And see, again, he's one of those guys. See, every year his name comes up in these coaching cycles, and it's going to continue to come up as long as he's, continue to go out there and compete at the level and that he's competing at. His name is going to continue to come up in these coaching cycles when these jobs pop up. And there may be a job out there that he might want, that he might love better than Indiana, and he might, maybe, I don't know if it's going to chase the money, but I think there might be a job out there that he might love more than Indiana. But he's kind of from that area. I think he's from Pennsylvania or something like that. So
Right.
He's a folksy kind of guy. Indiana works perfectly works perfectly with his personality, and he can do a lot of the great things there. Have a statue, a stadium, a field, right, a building, whatever he wants. I mean, he's the big guy there in Indiana. I mean, they're not talking about who's your basketball right now. They're talking about who's your football.
Right. Well, he just recently got an extension. He's not going anywhere. I'm going to rapid fire these next couple of them. First of all, here's a news note. One possible Penn State candidate that has emerged. His name is Eric Morris from the University of North Texas. Watch out for him. His name could be lumped in at some point for that job. I'll just put it in a situation. We'll just see how that one plays out. Okay, Joe Flacco was out Sunday, but it's still hard to believe that the Cincinnati Bengals are the first team to secure 38 plus points in back-to-back games, lose both since the 1966 Giants. Prior to Sunday, Flacco's career high was 389 yards, and then on Sunday he had 470. So some quick thoughts about Joe Flacco and the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to rapid fire this one, Tommy, about the fact that 38 points and you still lose, and then you end up with the 1966 Giants. Too surreal, Tommy. Rapid fire.
Hey, you just never know in the NFL. New Orleans beat Carolina, and Carolina beat the Packers. So you just never know in the NFL. Anything's possible.
Candy?
Any given team on any given Sunday, and I think this year is more showing that to be true. I mean, there's been some, the Packers opened up the year, they beat the Lions, and last night they lost to the Eagles, and yes, that was a very close game, but we all lost by 3 to the Eagles and the Panthers. So you just never know. Flacco's got there.
Yeah, but Candy, we're talking about 38 points of losing a couple times in the 66 Giants, okay? You want to continue that theme?
You can go ahead and go on to the next one. I said Flacco has had a really good career. He's doing really well, but any given team can beat any given team. That's what I was saying on Sunday.
Okay, Marvin?
I think if I'm a Bengals player, if I'm a Bengals fan, Bengals coach, the most frustrating part is you're thinking, if we could score almost 40 points a game with this 40-year-old guy who just got to town 2 days ago, I mean, what could we really be with our stud MVP caliber quarterback? So it has to be frustrating. They're putting up the points. The offense is doing what it's supposed to do. The head coach is an offensive guy, and he's doing his job with a veteran guy who just got to town. So super frustrating, and it's unfortunate. But again, a lot of football left, guys. A lot of football left. We got 8 games to go, and a lot can happen. So I don't know what Burrow's situation is when he's coming back. But if they can keep that offensive production up, they'll get some wins, and hopefully enough wins for them to make a wild card with their quarterback when our quarterback gets healthy again.
And Mel, rapid fire, we're talking about Joe Flacco, 38 plus points, still losing, having 2 big games. Some thoughts on that?
Yeah, it goes back to team building. I mean, how are they building their team? They're not playing complementary football. And I don't, these guys are all getting paid. They're all professionals. You have to have some sort of pride. Now, they got to come up with some kind of scheme. I forgot who they have there as their defensive coordinator there, but they've got whatever they're doing is not working, so they have to try something different. They have to be able to stop some people. I mean, even if Joe Burrow was there and they're scoring 50 points, the other team would figure out a way to score 51. So They have to do something on their defensive side of the ball to give themselves an opportunity to win. They have to start playing complementary football.
Okay, great point. Sorry. Well, obviously the big news yesterday was the fact that the Giants fired Brian DeBoer. But first of all, before I get to that, the Giants announced that John Mara has been diagnosed with cancer, and obviously he's having a tough run for him. Let's just talk about the cancer aspect for about a minute or so, and then we'll talk about the coaching situation. Tough break for John Mara, isn't it, Tommy?
Yeah, it's. I didn't know that. That's awful news. How bad is it? What kind of cancer?
I don't have the rest of the information, but Candy can dig it up. But he has been diagnosed with it recently.
That's such a big family, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they have a succession plan in place.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But anyways, okay, Candy, some thoughts about Mara having cancer. Then we're going to talk about their coaching situation.
Obviously, anytime you hear of anybody having the C word, it's sad. You don't wish that on anybody, and I hope I'll try and do some research while I'm not talking and see if I can find out what kind or what grade it is. But hopefully, it's curable and they caught it early enough.
Marvin?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Cancer is something that definitely hits home for me. And I hate it for him and his family. Prayers to them, and I hope that they can figure something out.
Mel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that story came out a couple of weeks ago. I don't think they said what type of cancer it is, but
yeah, I don't want to call him saying it either. I probably haven't. Go ahead.
He can get with Jerry Jones. The one thing that he has going for him, he's got money. And so that helps. He's able to get treatments that may not be available to everyday citizens. Obviously you hate to hear that about anybody because your health is the most important thing. I don't care how much money you have. If you don't have your health, it's really not worth it. So, I'm sure he'll do everything in his power to beat this thing and fight it. And, I hate it for anybody, to have to deal with something like that. But, the one thing, like I said, he's got going on inside is he's got the means in which to fight it.
No question about it. Yeah, I've had it a lot. My family thinks. All right, now onto the coaching search. Obviously had to fire Brian Daboll. Let me go over the records of some of the recent Giant coaches. Daboll 20-40-1, 336. Prior to Daboll, you had Joe Judge 10-23 with a 303 number. And then you had Pat Shurmur 9-23 at 281. Steve Spagnuolo, who's actually being considered for this job, 1-3 as an interim guy at 250. And then you had Ben McAdoo 13-15, 464. Enter Mike Kafka. The Daboll's first season was 9-7-1 with one playoff win. Since then, he's 11-33. It's tough that Brian. It's a tough way for him to go, but obviously the record doesn't do him any good. Tommy, what are your thoughts about the Giants' coaching situation overall?
Well, I didn't realize the Giants had been down that long. The only thing I'll say about that is I hope this time Brian Flores gets a legitimate interview.
Right.
And Bill Belichick stays off his texting with congratulations to the wrong Brian.
Okay, Candy.
Part of Daboll's downfall is that he didn't also recognize some of the injuries and the injuries that were happening. When Dart had that head injury, he didn't keep him out like he should have. And yes, sometimes it's all fault. Then sometimes things fall on the coach. But in this instance, it was right to fall on the coach. He hasn't gotten the most out of his players like we thought he would. And obviously he's in a New York market, so they want results. So he's not giving them the results and they let him go.
We'll see what happens with Mike Kafka. Go ahead, Marvin.
Listen, in this league, it's about quarterback development, and you need a guy in there, especially when you have a young talent like Jackson Dart. So to me, it would have made much more sense to allow him to coach the year out and see what this kid can do and how he can impact him. Now you have your young quarterback, and you don't have a guy that's going to coach him. You don't know who you're going to have to coach him. And, in this league, I think you have more organizations that fail young quarterbacks than young quarterbacks who actually fail on their own. Okay. And that was Caleb Williams and his dad's biggest fear going to Chicago. What am I going to get here? 3 head coaches in 3 years, which is, what they were almost on pace for. So I think it was a bad fire. I do. And I think the Giants messed up when they drafted Daniel Jones at number 6 a couple of years ago. Didn't have a plan for him. And now you see this kid out here balling. Some of these kids need time. Some of these guys need more reps. You don't know what you got until you have, a few seasons or belts, on your resume. So the Giants are a mess, if you ask me, because you have a guy who at Alabama particularly, worked with some good quarterbacks and showed some promise. Now he's a head coach. It appears they have a good relationship. I think it was just a bad move.
Okay. All right, Mel.
Yeah, Brian Daboll. I mean, if you're going to fire him 8-9 weeks in the season, we should have fired him before the season. That was already on the table that they were looking at getting rid of him. And the fact that you brought in you drafted a rookie quarterback. I mean, you allowed him to draft him because this is the guy that he wanted. And then you already knew it was on the table that you're going to fire him. I thought this might buy him another year, at least, to see how things worked out with the new quarterback. I don't. The timing of it is strange, but I mean, there was rumblings that they were looking at firing him a couple weeks ago, but they did something and they beat somebody. I forgot who they beat, Denver or somebody. They beat somebody, right. And they bought himself another couple weeks. But I think they give these guys a lot more credit than they deserve. And I think they're trying to say he's the reason why Josh Allen became Josh Allen. No, Josh Allen became Josh Allen because of Josh Allen. I mean, he decided to put in some work, look at some film and stuff like that, and got better. Yeah, Brian Daboll may have showed him some things, may have taught him some things, but I think they give him a lot more credit than what he deserves. Josh Allen was going to be Josh Allen because of look at the traits that he has, the physical tools that he has, the ability that he has, and then the will that he has. So he came in supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. And I think the other thing that cost him his job is what Daniel Jones is doing in Indianapolis. I mean, you have to look at that. I mean, you have to look at that. I mean, we had this guy here and we could get nothing. You couldn't get anything out of him. You're supposed to be a quarterback whisperer and we get rid of him and, he's in the MVP conversation. So, I mean, I think the combination of those things, cost him his job.
Great points all the way around, Mel. All right, here. We'll move on here. Notre Dame and Florida canceled their 2026 game. The ACC will begin playing 9 conference games. The Irish are set to travel to Tallahassee for the first time since 2021. Tommy, back to this again, 9 conference game. This one goes by the wayside out in Tallahassee. Some brief thoughts about this one.
Yeah, well, it's what we talked about earlier about conference realignment screwing things up. What I want to say about the 2026 season is thanking Notre Dame for putting Michigan State back on the schedule. Michigan State and Notre Dame were traditional rivals from the World War II years until college football realignment in 2013. And so that meant Michigan State was one of the games that Notre Dame dropped off the schedule. But Notre Dame, and they don't need to do this, they could do it on their own. They don't need Michigan State. But their respect for the 1966 game of the century, Michigan State and Notre Dame, is so great that they added Michigan State back to the 2016 and 2017 schedules, and they're doing the same thing in 2026 and 2027. So it's tough to schedule games, but I got to give Notre Dame a lot of credit for adding the Spartans and the Notre Dame bookstore telling me that I'm penciled in to do a book signing that night of the game, that day of the game. I did one there. I did the one there 2 years ago with Vegas Ferguson, the Notre Dame All-American. He drew the crowd, and my book was the sales, and they want us to come back for the Game of the Century anniversary.
Good for you. Well, you'll have more opportunity to promote that when you go back on the Sports Exchange next week. So glad you brought it up now. I give you every opportunity to promote as much as I can, and I'll do it again next week. Candy, briefly on this one. It's a product of the system, isn't it?
It is. Just like we talked about, like I talked earlier, that Miami's not going to be playing Florida, and they're a rivalry. Like Miami played how many different Florida schools this year. And because of the new realignment, they just can't play all these non-conference games. So unfortunately, some of these are going to go by the wayside.
Marvin.
Yeah, listen, it hurts Notre Dame more than anybody else. They need as many relevant games as they can get.
Yeah.
It's because they play independent. If you play in the Power Four, particularly in the Big Ten, SEC, you got games. You have games that are relevant, meaningful. No one's questioning your schedule. With Notre Dame, I mean, they're going to be playing against East Tennessee Tech, like we were talking about earlier today.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not only that, not only does it hurt Notre Dame there, Notre Dame doesn't have a conference championship as well game to play in to try to get in. So I'll take your point a step further. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, they kind of align themselves with the ACC, and we know what the ACC is like. So playing at Michigan State, you hope that Michigan State is going to be pretty good. We think the Big Ten team, we know the Big Ten conference is a lot better than the ACC. So, I think it's good for Notre Dame. I think it's going to be good. It's good for the players at Michigan State as well to have an opportunity to play in that stadium down there. I had an opportunity. I never got an opportunity to play there like Marvin, but did get an opportunity to witness a game there, and that's a pretty spectacular place to play.
Okay. An NFL insider reports the best offer for Trey Hendrickson was a 4th-round pick. All right, Tommy, real quick. Obviously, I think we all know Cincinnati's defense is bad, but Hendrickson was they were hoping for at least a 2nd or 3rd, but didn't quite happen. Bengals still have him. The defense is still bad. Some thoughts about Trey Hendrickson. Then I'm going to have a couple of news updates, and then we're going to have a couple of RIPs. And the goal is make sure everybody had time to talk about how you can get a hold of them. Go ahead, Tommy.
Didn't he just hold out for a big contract at the start of the season?
Yeah, he did.
It has something to do with it. I don't know. I wouldn't know where to put him as a draft pick. Straight.
Draft compensation. All right, Candy.
Yeah, the same. I mean, he held out for a lot of money, and now, so what does that relate to draft picks? That's just, it depends on who's buying. That's the big thing.
Marvin.
Yeah, he held out for a big contract, and I think they ended up just adding more money to his contract for this year. But listen, the Bengals offense put up 38 points in back-to-back games. You would think that an elite pass rusher could help close some of those games out, help them win some of those games. Right. They gave him his money, but that defense led by Trey is not showing up.
I agree. Mel?
I mean, basically, you'd be renting him for the rest of the year because he'll be a free agent in 2026. He'll be a free agent next year. So, I mean, I think a 4th-round pick was fair for what you're getting, his age, and the fact that you're only going to be renting him for the next 8-9 weeks. So, I mean, I think that compensation was more than fair.
All right, a couple of news items I want to get to. The Buccaneers released rookie defensive tackle Desmond Watson from the practice squad. Watson, 22, was signed to the practice squad on 9/23, but never got promoted to the active roster. Nobody has to come on this. We'll monitor the story to see where it goes the rest of the year. Just want to make sure that we got that piece of information out there. Another news item worth mentioning, kicker Justin Tucker's 10-game suspension has officially been lifted, and he can sign with any team. He was released by the Ravens in May, was suspended after the NFL found he violated personal conduct policy after being accused of sexual misconduct by 16 massage therapists in the Baltimore area. We don't have to comment on this. I think unless somebody wants to, I think this is a story that has to play out, and I would rather bring this up again should he sign with another team. Does everybody agree with that? Is that worth holding? Or does somebody have an opinion real quick?
I mean, why can't he have a job? That's 10 less assaults than the president. So he's only at 16. I mean,
wow.
I'm just saying the president has 26. I'm just saying, what are we talking about? Right?
Yeah, you're right, Marvin. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, what's the problem?
Well, he's back in the league. We'll see where he winds up. Melon Collie happy trails, unfortunately, to Dallas Cowboys. Marshawn Nealon, the Cowboys will wear a patch 24. All I can say about this is he died of suicide and mental health issues. It's just unfortunate that this young man passed away at such an early age. Rest in peace. Any thoughts on Marshawn Nealand.
Too young.
Well, it'd be interesting to know what kind of mental health problems he was dealing with. I don't think any of the stories I read mentioned it. Was it something that somebody should have caught? Somebody should have tried to get him some help. I don't know, but yeah, it's a sad story.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think part of it was that he had lost his mother a year ago, and I think he took that really hard. So that's part of it.
All right, last thing we're going to talk about, former Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, who passed away at the age of 84, 3 weeks shy of his birthday. He's a big reason why this league has grown what it is. But that said, I'll just leave that out as a news item. We'll probably talk about it at a later date. Tommy, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. I only have a couple minutes to go. Go ahead, Tommy, real quick.
TomShanahan.report. And actually, I have a story on my website about Notre Dame and adding Michigan State to the schedule and talking about Notre Dame's traditional rivalries, why they still play Navy, and how the USC game series is now in jeopardy.
Okay. Marvin?
My information, yeah, you can catch me South Florida Tribune, Tuesday evenings, Wednesday morning, Wednesday evenings as well. You can catch me, Marvin, on the mic. Those are my handles for TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and you can catch me locked on USC Mondays and Fridays, and once a week as well with USCJ.
Great stuff. Okay, Marvin, looking forward to having you on the Wednesday Sports Exchange. You're a hit there. That show wouldn't be the same without you, that's for sure. All right, Mel.
I'm in all the social media at Melfar Jr. Follow what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also in Michigan at Melfar Superstarfoundation.org.
Beautiful. Candy, one last station break. Go ahead.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the business. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content. Go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise, call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, great show, everybody. Glad that we had Ben on tonight. Ben is his usual hit. Stephen Reichel is resting up for tomorrow as we talk about CTE. We have a big show lined up before the Sports Exchange, which Marvin and I and Candy, you'll see us there tomorrow night. And of course, Tommy gets next week, so he gets to join us then. So meanwhile, great show, everybody. Everybody's opinions were fantastic, as they always are. I only believe in having the best here, and I'm proud of the family that I have in front of me day in and day out. And this South Florida Tribune Media Network is a family, everybody, and we get along good. We have fun doing it. That's why we enjoy bringing you the entertainment week in and week out, and we appreciate every comments that we get, not only in the chat room, but outside of the chat room as well. So any closing thoughts real quick, Tommy?
TomShanahan.report, Shanny 4050.
I don't know who's the closing thought there, but we'll close out the show. On behalf of Ben Troop, Tom Shanahan, Candy Ebling, Melfar Jr., Marvin Powell III, my brother from another mother, Marvin, God love him, Sports Exchange, wild, unpredictable, tomorrow night. We'll see you tomorrow for our programming. God bless everybody. I hope you enjoyed Inside the Pigskin, and we will be back better than ever next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.